Markets the world over were roiled earlier in the week on account of a higher than expected, in fact, a much higher than expected print of CPI inflation in the US for the month of April. That number stood at 4.2%, and it was the highest increase in inflation since September of 2008. Now, US core CPI, which removes food and fuel from the basket, also was elevated. It stood at 3% in the month of April. That was also above estimates. In other major economies across the world, also you're seeing a rise in inflation. For example, in China, the producer price index rose 4.4% in March, and that is an indicator of the prices of items at the factory gate. And you also saw CPI inflation rise 0.4% year on year in March, which was the first monthly rise this year. Now, why is this happening? Over a period of time, you've actually seen prices of input items like steel, like the base metals, for example, copper, aluminium, all of that, they've risen significantly. And that has caused a lot of pressure for manufacturers who have to a certain extent been passing on prices. What's more, a lot of pent-up demand in these major economies is now coming on stream with vaccination efforts having borne fruit. So manufacturers are feeling more comfortable in pushing the prices to consumers, which is why you're seeing an increase in prices. What is the likely implication of this? The predominant view among economists is that this inflation is likely to be transitory, especially in the United States. Economists see inflation cooling off once supply bottlenecks are resolved and once the pent-up demand sort of eases off. The Fed has maintained in the past that it would look through any temporary increases in inflation, but that might actually be put to test with the expectation that in the month of April and May, as well as June, you could see elevated levels of inflation on account of the low base of last year. In China, the expectation is that the Politburo will manage supply conditions to ensure that prices cool off. Like I said, markets are likely to be jittery, but you may not see a huge policy response on the monetary policy front just yet.